Back in 2009, I moved from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Ipswich, a distance of about 30 miles. And at the time I was working in Boston, and my commute was about a half hour each way, 5 hours total per week. When I moved to Ipswich, because of my marriage, I was now driving to a commuter rail station, sitting on a train for an hour, and then walking about a mile once I got into the city. And now I was going from an hour one day to an hour or 3 hours each day, and 15 hours a week from 5 hours prior to that. 10 hours lost, okay? And the effective result of this was that there was no time for any fun. And by fun, I don't just mean drinking wine and scrapbooking with the girls, but that's important too. I meant any time for restorative downtime. I was in such chaos that even at work I couldn't think strategically. I wasn't really there. I wasn't present. I felt like I wasn't present and engaged in any of my life. Our culture of overwhelm has created an environment that limits our ability to do our best work and to be our best selves. In my opinion, it interferes with our ability to do what we're here to do, which is to create, to grow, and to produce. In 2014, Deloitte did a study on overwhelm, and 65% of executives believe that overwhelm is an issue in the workplace, and it's costing up to $10 million per year for a mid-sized company. As we know, Gallup does lots of studies on engagement. Only 29% of Americans are engaged on the job, and worldwide only 13%. This is having a $450 to $550 billion effect on productivity and revenue in our companies today. Now, back in 2009, I hit a tipping point with this commute and just everything kind of went off, and I defined it as overwhelm. And you might not define it as overwhelm, but certainly I think that there are times in your life when you'd like a little bit more time and space for you, for strategic thought, for exercise. So I ask audiences, if you had 2 hours a day, that was what my commute represented, 2 hours lost. If you had 2 hours a day, what would you do? I get the same answers from groups of executives and from groups of individual contributors. The top two, sleep and exercise. Whether I'm talking to executives or individual contributors, those are two things that have a direct impact on our health and vitality, right? We already know the financial implications. Overall, our whole being is affected by this culture of overwhelm, this true first world problem, right? I'd become this corporate soldier. I wanted to be a corporate voyager. So I had this vision, and I wanted to begin to change my life. So imagine a world where you have all of the time and space you need for all the exercise and sleep that you need. Imagine a world where you enter every day from a state of control. You know what's coming. You're proactive instead of reactive. Imagine being engaged, whether you're at home having dinner with a loved one or fully engaged in a project at work. Imagine having the time and space to grow, to create, and to produce. Well, I don't think you have to imagine it. The solution is here. We've called it a living blueprint. And the living blueprint is a 4-part solution, and it's based in 2 things. One of the things is productivity. All the systems, all the hacks, all the things that you can do with your time and energy in order to preserve and conserve the precious energy that we have. The second thing is deciding. Robert Collier said in the last century, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in, day out. Robert Collier was a metaphysicist. He wrote lots of books. He was one of the first self-help gurus. And I love this quote because I feel like it really encapsulates this idea of deciding, making choices about your life, and then living every day. So you're making a macro choice, and then you're supporting it every day with these micro actions. So I am going to talk about the 4-part solution. And this is where people contract. They lose energy. They think, oh, there's work. I don't want to do any more work. I'm already in chaos. Well, I'd argue that there's work either way. You can put in a little bit of work at the front end and create a framework for your life to support yourself. And I'd actually argue that this is actually recharging. When you take the energy at the front end, you actually have a recharging effect versus living in chaos. Again, I've done both. Chaos, you're just losing energy all over the place, constantly going away from you. So as I get into these 4 parts, know that this is part of a much bigger framework that I do at organizations and in other environments, workshop style and over time.